This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
So the Pistons and Lions are honestly in similar situations with their seasons where they're both kind of at pivotal points where they've got to make a decision. Do the Pistons decide to just mail in the season and tank? Go after one of the top two picks in this draft who are the prize candidates? Do the Lions do the same thing and pair two top 10 picks between the Rams pick and their pick? Or do they try and, in the Pistons case, do they try and turn it around and maybe go after a respectable season? And the Lions, technically speaking, they're still in the playoff conversation. A lot of decisions to be done and to be had there, or to be made, I should say. But this is the Fan Report. Obviously, that is a couple of things we're going to be talking about today. But this is the Fan Report by fans.
For fans.
I'm Nick, and with me is Andrew.
Hola.
You can follow us on Twitter at RealFanReport. We are brought to you by Detroit Sports Podcast at Detroit Podcast, where you can find them. This is episode number 182. And yeah, we're going to be talking a lot about the Pistons and Lions today, as we do every week. But
I want to start off with, are we allowed to be happy as Detroit sports fans?
the answer is no.
Can we have a moment?
The one team you could honestly be happy about is the Red Wings. And then news comes out today that Tyler Bertuzzi's back on IR. After taking a slap shot to his hand
again. Are we allowed to be happy as a Detroit sports fan? They did have one hell of a comeback last night.
They did. So last night's game, and I don't want to spend too much time on the Wings, even though I love talking Red Wings, but last night's game against the Sabres was both exciting as all hell and also infuriating. Because the first couple of periods they just did not look good. Ned struggled big time yet again. The team just wasn't really maintaining good puck possession, getting great opportunities. They were getting a lot of shots on net, but they weren't good opportunities, good high percentage scoring chances. And Craig Anderson was able to have, yes, he had a lot of shots peppered at him, but not a lot of them were all that difficult. He had a few. And then the third period comes along, and really about 2/3 of the third period, all of a sudden the Wings just start playing desperate. They turn something on and played arguably the best 10 to 15 minute segment of the entire season as a group. They dominated the faceoff circle, and the big issue that I had was their power play just wasn't getting great opportunities either. I mean, any night your power play finishes 0 for 7 and -1, that's a really bad special teams night. They had a 5-on-3 opportunity with a couple minutes to go and couldn't put a puck in the net to win the game. In overtime, they looked straight up gassed. Buffalo controlled the puck for about 4 of the 5 minutes. They couldn't do anything. They didn't seem like they were able to chase the puck. They looked gassed. And then in the shootout, you got some bad puck luck hitting 2 posts. It was great to battle back to get a point, but that's team, in my opinion, that's a team you really should have been able to beat. Because I thought that team was a better team. The Wings were just, in my opinion, I think they're a better team. So, anyways.
And shoot, even if you're a Michigan fan, you just found out Blake Corum's done for the year. You found out about the gun charges on
Mozzie. I've literally been reading his name all day, and now I'm drawing a blank on it.
But yeah. And that's probably those are probably the happiest people in terms of sports in the state right now. And
Mozzie Smith, thank you. I knew it was something like that.
And even they got some rain today. So
right. It's tough. It's been a tough decade for Detroit sports fans for sure. But anyways, I do want to kick things off with the Lions this week.
All right.
I don't want to spend too much time on the Thanksgiving Day game, just because we are now a week out from that at the time of this recording. So there's really no point in spending too much time on that far in the past, and I want to look ahead. But I will say this. I thought the team played well enough to win. I thought the team battled. I thought the team honestly surprised me with how they played. I think their coaches let them down. I think their coaches lost them that football game in multiple different ways. The decision to run how many plays before the 2-minute warning in the first half to then allow Josh Allen and the Bills to have enough time to run down, to go down the field and kick a field goal.
Did you listen to?
I did, and it honestly made me even more infuriated. I could not believe what I heard. This isn't video games where people are just where people don't have a sense of time management.
He was going for the 2-for-1 like there was a shot clock.
Like, dude, that drove me so that right there just made me feel like this dude is absolutely clueless. Is he playing Madden or is he coaching an NFL football team? Because that's all I could think of.
Yeah.
And then the timeout usage late in the game, the play call on the 3rd and 1. Like, I couldn't get a grasp of what the hell they were doing there, allowing, like, the time management with this team may be the worst. The time management and the short yardage crucial play calling maybe the worst I've ever seen.
Yeah, because like, and I'll even be honest with you, the play itself wasn't what I had an issue with. It was the fact that you gave up the opportunity to run the clock down by taking the deep shot. And
right, but I also have an issue with the play call because of the deep shot. Those types of situations, you want to keep the football game in your hands.
That's what I'm saying. Like that play call, you had multiple options, shallow, that you could just get a quick, easy dump off for the first down. It's just the main issue I had that was that the read was to go deep to J. Truck. You know, he did have his man beat, but Goff knew damn well he couldn't make that throw. Come on now.
Like,
also, why don't he threw a fade when DJ Chark was running like a streak?
I would have just run the football.
That too. Like
control the game, control the clock. Put
it was really anything but deep shot. Like
put the game in your team's hands. Don't allow the other team to have the opportunity. Like I didn't understand the play call. I don't understand why you send a man deep there, other than maybe we'll get lucky and he doesn't get covered. Like in my opinion, is a stupid reasoning to do that.
My guess is what happened was the call was for DHR to run the fade, because when he went deep, he threw his hand up like, you know, I got my man beat. I'm going deep.
Just decided to keep going.
But Goff didn't recognize that and still threw the fade ball. Like
I don't know. It just that type of stuff.
Like Goff lobbed it like he was throwing a fade.
Right, but that type of stuff, like I would normally give a team the benefit of the doubt if it wasn't for the fact this isn't the first or second or even the third time we've seen the team make a terrible play call on a 3rd or 4th and short.
Yeah, it comes down to the fact that your strategy, at least until it seemed like until we got close to the half, your strategy had been to keep the ball out of the Bills' hands. And you didn't do that to close the half, and then you didn't do that again to close the game.
And then, the decision, the explanation for we're going to go for get the 2-for-1. Like, he's got to understand that he made the same mistake earlier on in the season in Minnesota. Like, you've done this before. In the Minnesota game, you made the same exact damn mistake at the half, and it allowed the other team to get points off of it. Why is this guy not learning from his mistakes? I thought he was.
We have seen him take the field goal more. We'll say that.
Sure. So he's taken 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Wonderful. But like, I can't totally buy into a coach that doesn't learn from his mistakes. That time management type of mistake costed him the football game against Minnesota earlier in the year. It costed him the football game on Thanksgiving against Buffalo. That can't continue. You can't be the reason your team loses football games. A coach should never be the reason your team loses football games, ever.
I agree.
That right there just really bothered me. Like I think it was a step backwards for Dan Campbell and him. Like, yes, the team fought, team played hard, and I want to like him. I want to be happy about that he's our head coach, and I can tell that the players want to play for him because they battle against teams that are far superior than them talent-wise. But the decision-making is just where I have to stop short. He just doesn't seem like he's keyed into what decisions need to be made to win football games. So with that being said, Andrew, do you have anything else to add on Buffalo?
I was going to give you a bright side. At least the defense played well.
Defense did play well for the most part. Yes, Stephon Diggs seemed to torch
even
him.
without Okuda.
Right, which is where Okuda probably would have come in. Mm-hmm. Isaiah McKenzie played really well. There's that too. But I do want to look forward, and I'm kind of leading into a question here. When I look forward, we talked about what's it going to take to be on the Dan Campbell train and this coaching and the train for this coaching regime. And you were out after Miami, and then we got back on board after, three
ripping
straight
off three wins with one of them being a winning team at home. I mean, on the road.
On the road.
Mm-hmm. And I told you if they found a way to win against Buffalo,
well, we
I'm
even
chugging
said
the Kool-Aid.
If they beat Buffalo,
we just said just cover the spread. That's what
we said if they beat Buffalo, we can talk the P word. We can talk about playoffs and the potentials there. Mm-hmm. Then we said, just cover the spread, which they did do. But, I am going to stick my foot in the sand here and say this is what it's going to take for me to get beyond the Dan Campbell train going forward. You need 8 wins. You need to finish with 8 wins this season. I'm putting my stick in the sand. That's where I'm at. You finish with 8 wins, I'm on board. I'm behind you. You finish with 7, that's enough for you to come back, but you're on the hot seat. 6 or less, I don't think he's going to be the right guy for this team. I'll be honest with you. The way your schedule shapes out the rest of the year with games against Jacksonville, who you should beat, games. Your toughest game is the Vikings and the Jets. And the Jets look like a mediocre football team. Let's be real.
And you should have had the Vikings in Minnesota in week 3. You had them dead to rights. Right.
So with that, the rest of the games, Jacksonville, Carolina, Chicago, Green Bay, that Green Bay team, it's probably Jordan Love's Green Bay.
That should be 4 wins right there.
That should be 4 wins right there.
So that should get you to 8.
You honestly should be able to beat New York. You should be able to beat Minnesota. You could beat either one of those teams. You should have beaten Minnesota already. But those 4 games, in my opinion, you should be favored in each of them. I know you're not favored against Jacksonville. I get that. You actually, I believe the line opened with the Lions -1, and it crossed the bridge over to Jacksonville -1.5 cents. But
interesting. I didn't know that.
Unless I read the spread wrong on Tuesday, that's at least what my eyes remember seeing. I could be wrong on that, but that's like I said, what I remember seeing.
I haven't even looked at the spread, so
I believe it's Jacksonville.
I'm not contesting that, right, but yeah, you look at your upcoming schedule. You only have 2 games against teams with a winning record, and I believe both of those teams with a winning record are very beatable teams with a winning record in Minnesota and the Jets. So I'm not going to sit here and say you should win out, but it's possible. It's not insane for you to win your last 6 games. We're not asking you to do that, but it's not insane.
I'm just saying go 4-2.
I agree that 4 wins is a very fair assessment. That's all I'm trying to say.
And if
you're literally just asking them to beat the teams that don't have a winning record the rest of the way. That's literally all you're asking.
I'm asking you to beat bad football teams. That's what I'm asking you to do. You've already shown me that you can beat a good football team on the road against New York, and frankly, at this point, maybe even Washington. I believe they're near 500 or even above 500 right now. So I want you to show me that you can.
They're 7-5.
Yeah, I want you to show me that you can be. I mean, it's a different Washington team now than it was, but it's not even the same quarterback.
Nope.
But I want you to show me that you can beat teams that you should beat. You've already beaten each of those teams once. In the case of Green Bay and Chicago, and Carolina sucks. They're terrible, and Jacksonville sucks. So beat them. Beat bad football teams is how you win in this league. You got to beat up on the teams you should beat.
Yeah. No, I 100% side with you on this one. I can't sit here and harp on them for losing to Buffalo. I can harp on the way they lost to Buffalo, but I can't sit there and harp on them.
I can't harp on the team for the way they lost to Buffalo. I give the team all the props in the world, but I can harp on the coach for the way they lost to Buffalo.
Exactly. But no, again, I'm not fully back on the Dan Campbell train, but if they finish, I would have been. If they beat Buffalo, I would have been fully back.
As would I.
But if they finish 8-8,
8-9.
8-9. Sorry, I'm getting used to the. I'll at least be willing to say, okay, Dan Campbell has a shot.
Because at that point, that's a 4.5 win improvement, and you're showing me that this team is improving. I think 8 wins, and honestly, you would hit your over at that point. You hit your over, I'm on board. That was my preseason prediction. If you hit your over or preseason expectation, if you hit your over, I'm in. And 8 wins, you hit it, I'm in. If you can hit 8 wins this year, I'm back on.
Yeah.
If you don't, I'm not. If you only hit 7, you're on the hot seat next year. You better compete for a playoff spot. No going backwards.
It's crazy how much that 3-game stretch of New England, Dallas, and Miami just completely shredded my confidence in Dan Campbell. Because, like, I still find no excuse why 3 weeks in a row you don't score in the second half of a football game.
Yeah, that blew me away.
That's why it's taking so much for me to get back on board. It's my confidence got completely shredded in those 3 games.
Oh, and I agree. Now, let me ask you this. What's your confidence meter that they can finish with 8 wins?
It's actually decently high. I'm going to be honest with you.
I'm going to agree with you.
I'm going to put it about 70%.
I'm almost at an 80%. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, I'm at like a solid 75% that I am confident that this team can finish with 8 wins.
As long as
Your
they
schedule's soft,
remain the same football team that we saw the last
teams.
4 weeks. Like,
Right.
as long as it's that football team.
That's what it is. This team has instilled a little bit of a confidence in themselves from my standpoint that I think they should, or let me rephrase that. I think they could and should win 4 games the rest of the way.
Not to mention, you should be getting JMO back at some point here.
He is practicing.
Soon.
He had a full practice. So
our buddy Steven keeps referring to it as you just have a Ferrari sitting in the garage.
I mean, that's honestly that's the common like saying about Jameson Williams is he's the Ferrari sitting in the garage ready to get released. I mean, the videos I've seen of him, he's faster than hell. I'm excited as hell to see him. Like seeing Jameson Williams, and I hope to God they know how to game plan for him properly. Yeah. Because if you play him in the Tyreek Hill role where you move him around the field and around the line and you put him in the slot up against a bigger receiver, you put him in the slot up against an Amon-Ra St. Brown with St. Brown right next to him and watch defensive secondaries just panic. That type of stuff will win you football games, will create big plays.
Yeah.
If you game plan for a guy like that properly, he will change games and he will win you football games. So I hope they're not just going to stick him out to be a trope wide out receiver. Move him around.
So
be creative.
You kind of answered the question I was going to pose to you, which is at this crossroads in the season, do you want them to really try to maximize that win column, or do you want them to try to get 2 top 10 picks? Because right now that Rams pick is looking real sexy.
I do want them to try to put some wins in some W's in that column, and the reason is because it'll instill some confidence in the players. It'll instill some confidence in the coaching staff. It'll just change we talked about in the offseason with Dan Campbell and in training camp of him trying to instill a culture. Best way to instill a culture is win football games.
100%.
So guess what? If you win football games, though, you win 4 to 5 football games the rest of the way, you'd best believe there will be a culture instilled in this football program, on this football team. That locker room will be a different look than it was after week 3. I can promise you that.
Here's another question. Not in your opinion, but do you think that in terms of how Brad Holmes of the Fords, Sheila, to be specific, views it, has Dan Campbell done enough to return already in year 3?
I think the dude could lose out, and he's done enough in their mind. I really do. Like I don't think the bar is very high when it comes to Holmes and the Fords. Like I think he's already done. I think even before they went on a 3-game winning streak, that he was already coming back.
Yeah,
which frustrates the hell out of me. I'll be honest with you, but
you don't really have a standard. That's why.
Right. I have expectations for this team. I have expectations for my coaching staff. I'm telling you right now, I've planted my feet in the sand. That is where I'm drawing the line. You win 8 games, I'm on board with you. You win 7 games, you better compete for playoffs next year. If you don't, guess what? You're out. You win 6 games, I'm pretty much ready to dump you.
It's a fine line.
It is. And honestly, even then, like you win 6 games, I'll give you till week 8 next year. You're not at least 500, get out.
You at least doubled your win total, right?
Get out.
At that point?
Yeah. But if you don't win, 2.5 more games than last year. But if you win 6 this year, You got an 8-week tryout. You're not 500. Get out. You're done. Deuce Staley, well, come on down. But one of the reasons I do want them to try to stack some wins in that column is because of the fact of the presence of the Rams pick. I think that pads it a little bit. I'm fine with having what I believe is the number 3 overall pick right now and the number 14 overall pick. I'm good with that. You can get 2 really good players out of that. Not to mention, I believe you also have 2 second-round picks. So, yeah, I'm okay with that. More than okay with it. So, I think it is more beneficial for them to lose a couple draft picks with their own spot and add some wins and try to build a culture here.
Did you see the trade scenario that NBA Sports Chicago threw out there?
I did, and it just made me laugh.
Like, in what fantasy world are they? Okay, for those of you listening that haven't seen it, it's NBC Sports Chicago put out a graphic on their broadcast that proposed a trade for this year's draft, saying the Lions trade up from the number 3 pick to the number 2 pick, and with the Bears, and the Bears will also give us their 4th round pick. In return, we give them obviously the number 3 pick plus number 13, assuming we're at 13, plus our 2nd round pick this year, plus our 6th round pick this year, plus our 1st, 3rd, and 4th round picks next year.
Yeah, you're high if you think that's going to cost to move up one spot.
3 firsts, a 2nd, a 3rd, a 4th, and a 6th.
You're high. Like, if you think it costs that much to move up one spot in this league, sorry. You haven't been watching. And I get it's expensive to move up, but it's expensive to move up like 5 spots into the top 5.
They're still sour about how much they had to trade to move up to draft Mitch Trubisky.
Yes. And
they're still trying to make up for that.
Yeah, they are. They should be sour about it. Because that was a poor decision. Now, let me ask you, I got a question for you. Because I'm actually kind of curious about this. So, obviously, we're both on board with the Lions getting wins.
Yes.
So, let me ask you this. What is your I'm back on board with Dan Campbell line in the sand? Where are you drawing it?
I think I'm right there with you. Like, the 4 wins, getting back to 8, that's, for me, I'm trying to think logically about this. Because beating at least the bad teams on your schedule remaining be enough to be like, I'm back on board, Dan Campbell's the guy? I don't know. But I also don't want to be like, you have to win 5 of the next 6 games because
the reason I want
to sit here and say you got to beat one of the good teams, but at the same time, you did already beat one of the good teams in New York.
You've already shown me you can beat a good team on the road, potentially 2, granted, totally different team, and I'm not going to sit here and say the Lions are one of the good teams. This is a league where you should beat the teams that are better than you. Yeah. And if you beat the teams that you're better than, that's how you be successful in this league. Mm-hmm. How many wins did Matthew Stafford rack up in this in Lions uniform, and how many playoff years? How many of those years did he beat other playoff teams or teams with a winning record? Not many. He didn't have many of those wins. That was the long-standing trope. So, but he had I don't want to say successful, but like a relatively successful career here in Detroit. He made the playoffs.
I will say
times.
he would have made that throw to DJ Chark if he was under.
Right.
Maybe not this season, but
True.
No, I think the only caveat I'd add is I want to see, as long as this coaching staff as a whole doesn't do anything to either jeopardize or cost this team.
As long as they're not the reason they lose those 2 games. Yeah. That's fair. That is fair. And I'm even going to say, I don't care where the 4 wins come from.
Yeah. You
must have 4 wins, in my opinion. I don't care if you finish with 7 wins, but one of those is Minnesota, not good enough. Mm-hmm. I frankly don't care who the games are against. I want those 4 wins. That's all. I don't care if you beat both New York and Minnesota and you lose to everybody else. Mm-hmm. That would just tell me you can't even beat bad teams in this league. It's just 4 wins. I don't care who it comes from.
That would just tell me this team isn't reaching its potential. That's all that would tell me.
And that's a coaching issue.
Yeah. You're telling me 4 of your 6 wins have come against teams with well above 500 records?
Right. That just doesn't make sense. Anyways, so I totally forgot. Okay, I was gonna pitch a draft scenario to you.
Okay.
Let's say
No.
Let's say there is a fair offer for you to move up a spot or even 2 spots go to number 1. So from 3 to 2 or 3 to 1. Let's say you got to give up 13, you give up your 2nd round pick, and maybe give up like a 5th round pick. I don't even think they have a 5th, a 6th round pick, whatever. To move up to 2 or 1 or 2. Would you want the Lions to do that? Knowing it would definitely land you the quarterback of your choice. Do you want the Lions to do that? Knowing that if you don't, there's a really high chance that you are going with Jared Goff next year. And I think there's still a high chance regardless.
I still don't know if I'm sold on Bryce Young. And here's the thing. The guy I would want is Will Anderson, and we've talked about this.
Oh, he's my guy too.
I would not move up to 1. I think you can get
Will Anderson at 3. I'll be honest.
I would not move up to 1, but because I think Bryce Young will go 1. Assuming Bryce Young goes 1, I may entertain the idea of trying to move up to 2 to get Will Anderson, and not like flirting with Wayne 3 kind of thing.
You know what? I can see that because there was, I believe the Athletic put out a mock draft today that had, I want to say I think it was actually C.J. Stroud going number 1 with Will Anderson going number 2, and you grab Bryce Young at number 3. Would I be disappointed at that point? No. If I had to pick between the quarterbacks in this draft, it's Bryce Young.
I agree.
I am not sold on Bryce Young.
And if Will Anderson's on the board, but Bryce Young is on the board for some reason, I'll take him.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, there was another mock draft. The Athletic had the Lions getting the defensive tackle from Georgia. His name is drawing a blank right now. They did not take Bryce Young. Okay. I believe it was Bryce Young, Will Anderson, and then we took the DT from Georgia. And then with our 13th pick, we took a cornerback. Which at that point, the cornerback was, I am drawing a blank on the dude's name, but he's like one of the best quarterbacks in the draft. He's some famous, God, my brain is not working today, but he was one really like well-known cornerback son. Joey Porter Jr., that's who it is. Okay. That's the corner. And then the Jalen Carter's
I saw that.
Yeah, Jalen Carter's the defensive line. Yeah. The Lions would be taking at 3. This CBS mock has the Lions at 5, grabbing C.J. Stroud and Jalen Carter at 3. Granted, I don't think the Lions would be drafting 5 and 3.
Yeah, that'd be nuts.
Yeah.
So
here are my issues with the quarterbacks and why. Like, I'd be more willing to trade up for Will Anderson than a quarterback. C.J. Stroud, I'm just out. I'm out on. I don't think he's I don't think he's an NFL quarterback.
Especially after the Michigan game?
Yeah. I don't think he's an NFL quarterback. I personally, if I was a GM, I would never draft an Ohio State quarterback until they can prove that they can actually stick in the NFL. Bryce Young, I think he's too small. Reports have come out that he's only like 5'10". I know his scouting report that you see on the internet or his listing is 6 feet, but I think that's in cleats with risers. I sure think the dude is 5'10". I really don't think he's actually 6 feet tall.
But we've seen shorter quarterbacks succeed. We've also seen him not succeed. So,
how's Russell Wilson doing?
Now, but like the dude is still, you can definitely argue he's a Hall of Famer.
I don't think Bryce Young is as anywhere near as good as Russell Wilson was.
I don't disagree with you.
Even though Russell Wilson was a 3rd round pick.
I don't disagree with you.
Kyler Murray, frankly, dude could play himself out of the league in the next couple of years.
Yeah, that's why I said we've seen it work and not work.
Yeah. More often than not, short quarterbacks don't work in the NFL. Let's just say that. I would rather the Lions go after a quarterback in like the 3rd round. Not Drake May. Maybe it's not North Carolina. I can't remember. But a quarterback in like the 3rd round, let him sit, learn, take a shot, whatever. Even the 2nd round. Fine.
Yeah.
But just because I don't like the quarterbacks at the top. Now, if you told me we were trading up to go get Will Anderson, yeah, that I'd buy. That I'd be in on.
Yeah.
Anything else to add before we move on here?
So, real quick, I did look up the spread for this game. It's flipped about 24 times in the last 24 hours.
Nice.
It does currently sit, according to FanDuel, at Lions -1.
Okay, so Lions are favored as of right now, but it has flipped a lot.
It will probably flip another 20 times by the time this drops.
What that tells you is this game is a pick 'em. Honestly, if it's flipping that much, they should just get rid of the spread, pick 'em.
You look at Action Network, for example. You know how you can see
see the trends.
it's basically a box of how many times it's flipped. Like you can't even count because they're so close together.
They honestly should just make it a pick'em. If it's going back and forth like this, just make it a pick'em. I'll be honest with you. I'm taking the Lions in this game. I'm taking the Lions money line. And honestly,
I'm taking the home team. That's just
if the odds are better to give me the -1, -1.5, I'll take the Lions -1.5. I would honestly take the Lions up to -1.5.
-1 is you get minus 106, and money line you get -108, so it's negligible.
Okay, regardless. I'm not a guy that throws $1,000 at a bet, so the
over/under is set at 51.5.
$2 don't matter. 51.5. It's pretty high. I mean, I could see it, but it's pretty high.
Can Jacksonville keep up their end of the bargain on that one?
Have you seen Trevor Lawrence's play the last few weeks?
He's my fantasy quarterback. I absolutely have seen.
Yes, they absolutely can. And Travis Etienne, man, they absolutely can put up points. I'll take the Lions. I'm probably going to stay away from the total in this one.
I agree. I don't like betting totals that are over 50.
I don't either. It's tough. But anyways, what do you think the Lions need to do to beat Jacksonville? Let's touch on that before we move on here.
Not play into their hand like they did with Buffalo. Let Jacksonville make the mistakes. Jacksonville's a young team.
With a young quarterback.
With a young quarterback. With a young running back. With a young coach.
Make Jacksonville make the mistake. Yeah, I you know what? That probably is number one for me. Make Jacksonville make the mistakes. Don't, play a coach and play a solid game plan and force the other team to make the hard decisions and make mistakes. Play the game that it's been taught for 100 years. I do think you have to control the clock a little bit. You gotta be able to control the ground game. You have to choose which guy you're gonna make them beat you with, Etienne or Lawrence. I think you got to shut one of them down. You can't let both run wild.
Either way, I feel like this is a game where if you can put up 30 points, Jacksonville's done that once all season, and that was back in September.
Yeah, if you can put up points, if you can play your game plan on offense, I think you can succeed.
Yeah.
I only wish Jameson Williams is back this week. That would just be so nice.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
in all honesty, if I had to put it in someone's hands in terms of like, I'd probably take Etienne away and put it in Trevor Lawrence's hands.
Because you can
every game he's thrown 40 plus passes, which has been 4 games this year, with almost half of them they've lost.
Well, I mean that's kind of the NFL football. Like if your quarterback's throwing 40 passes, you're probably playing from behind. No, I agree with you though. I think you have a far higher chance of success if you shut Etienne down. And you make Trevor Lawrence beat you because if you can get some pressure on Trevor Lawrence, he will make mistakes. He will.
And it's not even about Trevor Lawrence. I'm just not afraid of his weapons. That's all.
That too, yeah. I mean, the weapon I'm most afraid of on that team is Etienne.
Yeah.
So, all right, shall we move on?
Let's do it.
All right, let's move on to the Pistons here. Where do you want to even start with this team? I will say this: they get a primetime game tonight. Because they get the only game tonight.
Wait, really?
Yeah, they're the only NBA game tonight.
Is it nationally televised tonight?
I don't think so. But they're just the only NBA game tonight.
Oh, okay.
So automatically they get prime time. And it's
on NBA TV.
Okay, so there you go. National TV. The NBA can't miss an opportunity to put a game on. Yeah. So, but where do we you know what? Let's start with something happy.
Oh, okay. I was going to close out with something happy, but okay. We can start with happy.
I just want to talk about
it. Okay. All right.
There's been one guy, honestly 2 guys, that have made me, I don't want to say excited, but have given me reasons to think, okay. Okay. They've answered the call to action that we've announced on this show. And I'm going to start with one that we said was going to get an opportunity to step up in a big way. And for the most part, I'm not going to say consistently, but for the most part has stepped up and stepped into this bigger role and taken advantage of it. And that's Killian.
Yep.
Killian has shown an ability to play basketball at a decently high level, and he's shown an ability to score the ball. He's had a couple games he's had 4 so in his last 11 games, he's averaging 10.8 points, 6.1 assists, and 3.4 boards. And I use that 11 game stretch because that's The same amount of games that Cade Cunningham's been out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's also shot 39.5% in that period, along with 35.7% from three. Now, the 39.5% from the field is not great, but 35.7% from three, that's not bad.
No.
And it's not like it's on 3.8 attempts. He's taken shots from out there. But he's had games with 17, 8, and 9 with 3 steals. He's had games with 18, 2, and 9. Those are good games. And it seems the games that he's taking a high volume of shots are the games he's playing well in. And I don't even want to talk about the game against New York, because as soon as he started hitting shots, Dwayne Casey said, "Oh no, young fella, sit down."
You should have said Pistons Twitter was on fire.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I saw it.
The man came out, put up like 7 points in the first 5 minutes, and then was the first guy off.
Yep. Like that's another like
give me Kojo. Like, what the hell?
Dwayne Casey is just stacking up reasons why I want him shot out of a cannon. Like I'm also get anything.
The starting lineup he tried out against the Knicks made 0 sense too. Because one, he put Livers at the 2. Which, why? Yeah. Also, you had Bogey and Isaiah Stewart, both their first game back from injury, so both were on limited minutes. What does he do? He puts them in the starting lineup and has Sadiq come off the bench. Now, Sadiq plays limited minutes coming off the bench. Meanwhile, you have 2 of your stars playing limited minutes because that's who you put in the starting lineup. How about let Bogey get the 15 minutes off the bench that you gave Sadiq and let Sadiq start? Like, it doesn't make much sense to me.
Do you think that in the case of Sadiq, that was more so a message to Sadiq?
Because the first time they did bring Sadiq off the bench, he actually proved to be a nice boost for the boost for the unit because they needed some scoring down there. But I understand doing that. But in this situation,
though, with Alex Burks back, Jesus, why was that so hard to say?
Even he was cold against the Knicks,
right? But like, could you even argue that anymore? Like, do you still need as much of a bench presence?
You don't like there was no reason not to start. Like, I just thought there was no reason to not start Sadiq on against the Knicks.
I don't.
And I'm not someone, and I'm someone who doesn't like what I've seen from Sadiq this season. He's been cold as a motherfucker.
Sadiq Bey has been god awful this year. There's no sugarcoating it. He has been god awful. Anybody who is shooting 37% from the field and 23% from three, when your calling card is your 3-point shot, you aren't even playable at this point. You are not even. You don't deserve 20 minutes a game. You don't deserve 5 minutes a game at that point. You're not playable.
I think Marvin Bagley's taken his powers. Bagley's hit 5 for 9 from 3-point range in the last 3 games.
When did Marvin Bagley learn a 3-point shot? That's all I'm going to ask.
He took 6 of them.
I'll hang up and listen.
Bagley and Stewart combined for 15 3-point attempts against the Knicks.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love what I've seen from Isaiah Stewart. Like, you talk about a guy who's really answered the call to action. Yeah. We asked him, we said at the beginning of the year, I think I said at the beginning of the year, I want him to hit at least 32% from three, taking at least 3.5 per game. He's taking more than 3.5 per game and hitting like, I think he's at 36.5% on the year. In his last 10. Here's the number for you. In his last 10. So, obviously, he missed a couple weeks, but from October 30th to November 29th, he's hitting 47.2% from three on 3.6% or 3.6 attempts a game. 47%.
I love it.
That's just amazing. He's turning himself into a bona fide stretch four is what he's doing. And
which you need.
It's not even in and honestly, I wish
at his size he needs to be able to stretch the floor.
He does, absolutely, because 6'8", 250 pounds, you're going to get bodied down low.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to stretch 4. Honestly, I'm ready to just start throwing him at the 4 full time. I get you have a need at the 5 still, but honestly, I'm willing to give Duren 25 to 28 minutes a game and say there's no more need at the 5.
Yeah.
I frankly would say, Bagley, you're relegated to the bench. We're running Duren and Stu starting at the 5 and 4, and then we'll figure out the other 3.
I do want to see some more Stu Duren lineups.
Well, now that Stu's
the lineup they're bringing off the bench against the Mavs today is Ivy and Burks in the backcourt, Sadiq and Knox, the 3 and 4, and then I think Knox at the 3, Sadiq at the 4, and then
what do you think about
Duren at the 5?
What do you think about them playing Ivy tonight?
I mean, I don't know I just know he's been doing with knee soreness.
Coming off the bench, doesn't that tell you he's not 100%?
Well, I would rather him first game back ease him in. Like, I don't want to just throw him into the fire immediately again.
You can ease him in a starting role. They did with Bogey.
So reportedly, according to James Edwards, it's not a permanent bench assignment. Like, it's
right. No, I understand that, but like, I don't understand the point of putting him on the bench. Mm-hmm. Like, he's playing with guys he's not going to play with long term. That doesn't make sense to me. I would rather him play 15 to 20 minutes in a starting role and then just not play as much. That's all. Mm-hmm. And honestly, when it comes to a rookie, if he's not 100%, just don't play him. Mm-hmm. There's no reason to. It's not like this team's going to go anywhere. They've won 4 games all year.
And by the way, Livers just got hurt and is out for the game.
Nice.
We get one guy back, we lose another.
At least it was Livers and not anybody else. I'm kidding. I know, Spartan hat, whatever. But
oh, jeez.
I'm kidding. No, I do like Isaiah Livers.
Because we went to the game against the Knicks, and there were people sitting next to us that I think were like the leaders of the Livers fan club. They like freaked out when they announced Isaiah Livers.
Maybe it was family, man. Family,
it
friends.
Definitely was not family.
Could have been friends. Could have been friends. But anyways, back to the Killian Hayes conversation.
Yeah.
He's done everything to answer our call, in my opinion. And that's despite Dwayne Casey trying to not let him answer that call. Mm-hmm.
He's even converted our buddy Alex, who's been the biggest Killian naysayer.
He's always hated Killian Hayes. And I even said I would be okay with the Pistons re-signing him on a cheap deal to give him another shot. Like, I want to see him succeed.
I got Alex to say that too. Yeah.
Now,
he goes, if he plays like this, bring him back. I'm like, all right. That's all I wanted to hear.
Let me ask you this: is he doing this out of necessity, or is he actually turning a corner?
I don't care what he's doing it out of. He's turning a corner because of it.
Fair. Because it's not like his efficiency.
You don't just pretend to play like this.
Okay, but there is something to be said about production by volume, or numbers by volume, and he's had some very high volume for him, and the efficiency still is not there. Yes, he's fairly efficient from 3, but from the field he's not. 39.5% over the 11 games, not a good shooting split. However,
that Clippers game really hurt him.
Yes, it did. The Clippers game did hurt him. Yeah. The Jazz game wasn't great, even though he only took 5 shots. But the 1 for 8 against the Clippers was not good. And then the back-to-back 3 for 9 games were also not very good. But I want to say he's turned a corner. I'm a little bit weary just because it could be volume scoring for him. But
all I'm saying is this is the longest stretch we've seen quality play from him.
Mostly quality. Mostly quality.
Yeah,
and yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Outside of, in a Pistons uniform. In a G League uniform, we've seen a lot of it. No, I agree with you. I'm happy with what I've seen from Killian Hayes.
Did Killian play in the G League? I'm trying to remember now.
Yes.
Oh, did we sign with the G League in his rookie season after the hip thing?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure, didn't he score like 40 points? Or am I
do not remember. Saban Lee did, yeah.
Hang on, I'll pull
Saban Lee was like a G League superstar every time we sent him down there. He was too good for the G League, but not good enough for.
I might be thinking of Saban Lee. I might be thinking of Saban Lee. I don't know if he's. Well, these are international stats. That's not what I want. But anyways,
beside the point.
I like what I've seen from Killian. I like what I've seen from Isaiah Stewart. Everybody else can take a walk.
Yeah.
Outside of the guys that are injured, obviously.
Yeah.
Defensively, this team is god awful. You gave up 140 points to the Knicks. I can't even remember the last time I saw 140 points given up to anybody in regulation in years.
Do you remember when
games were finished like 69 to 67? Yeah,
we let it up in the first half.
This is a different era of basketball. I will say that.
Yes, it is.
I'm so ready to just get rid of Dwayne Casey. Clearly, this guy isn't resonating with these players on either side of the floor, like defensively especially. It's not working. And it's not like you don't have guys that can play defense. Like Sadiq Bey can play defense. Isaiah Stewart can play defense. Cade Cunningham, granted he's missed 11 games, can play defense. These guys can play defense. Alec Burks, I'm pretty sure, can play defense. Like, where is it? I understand Marvin Bagley, defensive liability. Duran can play defense. I understand Bogey, not the greatest defender. I understand Jaden Ivey, not the greatest defender. But you have guys that are solid defenders.
Yeah, I think that's not like we can harp on lineups and all that is all we want. But I think the biggest knock here is this team should not look this. No team, no NBA team should look this bad on defense. No. Like that falls on coaching. And it's the same thing I said about Dan Campbell and the Lions. Like. And Aaron Glenn, I was like, when we were the worst defense of all time, I was like, I don't care what team on the field. There's no excuse.
And that team made a change in that with those issues. They got rid of Aubrey Pleasant, and teams in the secondary has been better ever since. So
still don't understand how that worked, but it worked.
It did. I'll say this: the fact that 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, when we brought in Troy Weaver and we brought in Dwayne Casey, what were our top two glaring issues? Shooting and defense. 3.5 years later, 2022, what are our two most glaring issues? Shooting and defense.
Although it's a very different team now from when we brought in Troy Weaver. Dwayne Casey, we brought him well before Troy Weaver, but
I thought it was only like a year before. Thought it was the year prior.
Wasn't Dwayne Casey the coach when we went to the playoffs and played against Milwaukee and got swept very easily?
I think so.
I feel like he's been the coach for a minute, but I don't remember the exact year. I want to say 2018 we hired him.
So that's 2018. You're right. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So 4 years. It's only been 4 years.
So yeah, he and Troy Weaver came on in 2020, right? Off season of 2020. So Casey had 2 years before Troy, I think, is basically what I'm getting at. But either way, it's beside the point.
Troy Weaver's been the GM of the Pistons since when was he hired?
His first season was the 2020 offseason when we drafted Killian Hayes. That was his first offseason.
June 18th, 2020, yes.
Yep.
But the fact that the issues remain the same is what's kind of worrying me about this organization and this coaching. Well, obviously, we already know how I feel about the coaching staff with Dwayne Casey. I'm done.
Yeah. And I was still like the biggest Dwayne Casey supporter going into the season.
I was too. Like I thought this guy was going to be a guy that could do it. We asked the question. I said, yeah, I think he can be. I think he can at least be the guy that can get us to the point where we're ready to take the next step. We're not even able to get to that point right now.
Nope.
Like we've gone backwards this year in a huge step backwards. I'm done with Dwayne Casey. Get rid of him. I'm ready to get rid of him now.
I will say though, all we have to do, I think, is win one game this month in December, and we're outpacing our team from last year, which is sad. That is so sad.
But the fact that you aren't making improvement, is what's bad. You should have been able to improve this season over last, and we said we expected it. We said 30 wins. That's all we wanted. 30 wins. That's not a lot. They're not even going to get close, at least from what I've seen. They're not even going to get close.
Yeah,
which leads me
to... It's unfortunate because I can't ignore losing like Cade, for example. Like it's going to make your team worse, but at the same time, like games like the Knicks, I don't care who you try out there, it shouldn't happen. Your players are I don't know. It's just so frustrating.
It shouldn't happen. You're putting out a team that, and honestly, this is more of a referendum on Troy Weaver than it is Dwayne Casey. Because I mean, against the Knicks, what the hell do you want him to do? Like, look at the roster he had to put out there. That's terrible. What do you want him to do? So I feel for Troy Weaver, or for Dwayne Casey a little bit, and where I put the blame on Troy Weaver there. Like I said, Sadiq Bey is unplayable right now. You play him because you don't have anybody else. But if he put that play on a good roster, guess what? He's at the end of the bench. He's not even dressing half the games. That's how bad he's been. That's on Troy Weaver, not Dwayne Casey. The fact that you right here, right now, you can't definitively say that this team has a star and a cornerstone piece for the future. And don't get me wrong, I think Cade is that guy. I do. But it is not definitive that we can sit here, right now, and say that. He has not quite gotten there. I get he's really young, but it's year 2 now. And he's not shown an ability to stay healthy. He's not shown an ability to take that next step yet. And a lot of that's because he's not healthy.
I didn't miss you. I do remember you missed a chunk of time last year. Was it? There was part of it was COVID. Was there anything else? I'm trying to remember.
COVID, and he missed, I want to say, like 6 or 7 games to start. He only played 64 games last year.
It was the ankle to start. He had the ankle injury they suffered in training camp.
Yeah. He only played like 64 games last year. Yeah, 64 to be exact. So it's not like he played a ton of time last year. But like that type of stuff is on Troy Weaver. You're now year 4 into this. We don't know if we have a number 1 guy that is a definitive number 1 in the NBA that we can definitively say this is the guy. We want to believe Cade is that guy. I want to believe Cade is that guy. I feel Cade is that guy. You honestly God won't
gun to my head right here right now. I'll say Cade is that guy, but like obviously we can't definitively say that.
Can't say that. Guy has a proven ability to stay healthy. If you can't do that,
if I had to say yes or no right here right now, I think yes.
He will become that guy. He's not that guy right here, right now. In year 3, you need to have that guy in this league. It can't take you 4 to 5 years to rebuild in this league. It can't. Because if it's taken you that long, you don't belong in the job. I gave you, just a couple months ago, 4 teams that did it in 3 years. From a top 3 pick to playoffs in 3 years. We're in year 3. We're not even going to match our win total from last year, which was 23. We don't have a guy that we can sit here, right now, and say he is the number 1 on this team. We are in the running for a top 3 pick to go and get one of those guys right now. That's a referendum on Troy Weaver.
There were We Want Wemby chants breaking out at
that is
LCA.
When you have a number 1, how many? Let me ask you this: when Kyrie Irving was drafted to the Cleveland Cavaliers, how many We Want Wiggins or we want the next number 1 overall pick chants were there in the queue? I can almost bet you it was none.
They did get another one, though.
They what?
They did get another one.
I thought that was before.
When Kyrie Irving got drafted? No, because they
drafted
Kyrie was
Bennett,
the first
then
one.
Kyrie.
No, they drafted Kyrie, then Wiggins, and Bennett. I think it was Kyrie, Wiggins, Bennett is what they got.
I thought it was Bennett, Kyrie, Wiggins, and they traded Wiggins for Kevin Love. Yeah, look that up, because I don't remember. It was a long time ago. But regardless if they got one, how many times you hear those chants? Probably none. And I can't definitively say that. That's obviously me talking out of my ass. But when teams get a number 1 overall pick, they should never be competing for another number 1 overall pick. They shouldn't be in that conversation again. And I get it, Cade's been unhealthy. But that's the reason we can't sit here and say that he's the number 1 guy. I believe he is. I believe he will become that. But we're now in year 3 with Troy Weaver. Cade's year 2. And we can't say that he is definitively the guy. We're going to build like he's the guy. But we are also in the running to go get another one.
So it was Kyrie, Bennett, Wiggins.
Okay. So Kyrie
2011. Then they didn't get the number 1 pick in 2012. In 2013, they got the number 1 pick and took Bennett. Then 2014, they got the number 1 pick and took Wiggins.
And then they traded Wiggins for Kevin Love.
And I still remember in 2014 was the year I said, okay, that's it. It's rigged. There's no fucking way.
Well, they had to give him the do-over. But that, in my opinion, that's the referendum on Troy Weaver. You've had how many first-round picks in his tenure? 5? 6? 6, actually, with Jalen Duren?
Yep, 6.
One of those guys is arguably unplayable in Sadiq Bey. One of those guys is fighting for his NBA career, who was a top 10 pick, in Killian Hayes. One of those guys can't stay healthy.
I think it's unfair to call Sadiq Bey unplayable. I mean,
anybody shooting 23% from 3 when that's his calling card is unplayable. But sorry.
we can't just ignore the first 2 years and say, oh, this is what he is now over the last 15 games.
Hang on a minute. He's gotten progressively worse year over year.
Yeah, shooting splits, yeah.
Yeah. As a player, progressively over the years.
Like he's added stuff to his games or to his game over the last couple of years, but shooting splits, yeah, he's gotten worse.
Let me ask you this. Which version of Sadiq Bey do you want? If you could have each over the 3 years we've seen him play, which version of Sadiq Bey, where he can only be one of those guys for the remainder of his career, which one do you want?
Are you saying like rookie year, last year, this year? Or are you just saying rookie year versus last year?
Rookie. Well, obviously it's no contest with this year.
Well, for now, I want last year's Sadiq Bey, but eventually I want him to be back to rookie year Sadiq Bey because I don't need Sadiq Bey to put the ball on the floor as much as he does if we have another top draft pick. Because I'll take the shooting splits because we can get a guy that can put the ball on the floor. I'll take the shooting splits.
You do realize he shot below 40% last year.
I said I'll take the shooting splits eventually, but for now, I want Sadiq Bey to be the guy that can put the ball on the floor.
That's fair.
But I said down the road, I will take rookie Sadiq Bey. That's what I said.
Okay. And actually looking at his shooting splits, his rookie year field goal percentage was not really that much better. It was less than 10 points better, but his 3-point shooting was like 40 points better.
Yeah.
So I just want the guy that can confidently hit the three. And sitting here, right now, with the player that he is at the moment, that's unplayable. I'm sorry. Like, on a good basketball team, does this guy play?
Coming into the season, yes. Right now, no.
There you go.
Right now, he's RJ Barrett.
I'm asking
RJ
you
Barrett does
right
play,
here,
though.
right now. I'm asking you right. The Knicks are not a good basketball team.
Yeah.
Right here, right now, on a good basketball team. You put him on the Boston Celtics. Does he play basketball? Does he get a volume of minutes? The answer is no.
Not until he gets his stuff straight. But
The answer is no. So there you go.
it was
fighting for his NBA career. I'll continue. Isaiah Stewart, he looks good. That's a good find. I like Stewart a lot. I've been a huge Stewart fan all year. The way that he's changed his game coming into the season, I would say it's not a good look so far. However, he's changed his game. Looks great. Jalen Duren, I blame Casey more than anything. I think that guy deserves more opportunity.
he looks like
starting playing.
He looks like the
minutes.
best true big on this team.
He's the only true big on this team.
Well, you can kind of consider Marvin Bagley a true big.
He's the only true big on the team. Marvin Bagley is a 4. You can't be considered a big and play defense, in my opinion, and not play defense in this league.
You can consider Nerlens Noel a true big, but
dude's played 8 minutes in the last 2 months. I ain't consider him a big. I ain't consider him anything. And then you look at Jaden Ivey, who has looked solid with issues to his game, but also was a little bit injury prone already.
He says he's what
solid.
we expected. Yeah.
But again, like 12 game sample size, I'm not going to say anything about him.
Exactly.
But
100%.
the guys that we do have answers on already, things don't look great. I'm not going to say they look bad, but they don't look great. You're 1 for 3 right now. I'm not giving you credit for Cade Cunningham. He was a number 1 overall pick. That's cheating. That's like getting 400 points for writing your name on the SAT. So there are reasons for me to doubt Troy Weaver's talent recognition abilities. I still believe in Troy Weaver. I think he's the best trading GM in you could argue the history of the NBA, frankly.
You have more than Trader Jack?
I very well could be. I will say, though, that his talent recognition has not quite been there for me. And also the fact that he's not been able to put a veteran leader on this team in 3.5 years or 3 years now. Well, actually 3.5 years now. 2.5 years. Yeah. Well, in his third full season now. That worries me. Because that's one of the big things I think is holding this team back is the lack of veteran leadership.
I mean, he did bring in Jeremy Grant, then flipped him for a first.
Jeremy Grant was like 14 when he got here instead of the 10-year-olds that he's got in the locker room. Doesn't count. He was like 24 years old.
But outside of that...
And Jeremy Grant should have said he didn't want to be a leader. So does that really count?
But outside that, he hasn't really sought one out yet.
And that's the problem. Why? Like, one of the best things you can do to a young player is put a proven vet around him to guide him. Teach him the ways. Young Padawan. Even Luke Skywalker had a teacher.
Yeah.
And I know we just went full nerd on a sports podcast, but like
we did have Derrick Rose for Killing Hayes, but Derrick Rose never wanted to be a mentor to begin with. So
the mentors that we're bringing in don't want to be mentors. Got it. Sweet. Sounds like a great plan. Like just bring in. I've long been asking for them to just bring in Al Horford because that's a dude. Who, like everywhere he goes, players seem to just get good around him. Everywhere he goes, I don't care if he's 50. Bring him in. Like I want to see my biggest ass, and I'm not ready to fire Troy Weaver. Don't get me wrong. I will say my expectations are still there for next year. You need to be competing for playoffs, and frankly, I think you need to make the playoffs.
I'm expecting him to make a splash this offseason, like really make a splash.
If you don't, and you go into the season next year with this roster, obviously plus a number 1 to 3 overall pick, I will be concerned.
Yeah, like there aren't any superstars that you're gonna be able to sign, but like
You can get a veteran, though.
Yeah, you can bring in some legit veterans, or you can use that cap space you have to trade for someone that's going to really contribute.
Right. Like, you have a lot of opportunities to bring in one of these guys that can teach these young talents, because you're only going to get younger next year at this point if things continue the way they are, because of the fact you're bringing in an 18-year-old Victor Wembanyama or a 19-year-old Scoot Henderson.
Don't tease me. Don't tease me. I'm refusing to believe it unless it happens.
I mean, fair. But
there's no way we get lucky twice in this town. There's no way. I'm sorry.
And I know, so I got to ask you this, because you've been one of the biggest, like, you're not ready to get up. You're not ready to start doubting Troy Weaver. You still believe in Troy Weaver 100%. You're not at all disappointed that we're like competing for a number 1 overall pick in year 3 of this thing?
It's like I said, I can't ignore the injuries we've had this season.
Every team has injuries. No, I know.
I know, but when you're a team this young and this limited already, we have nowhere near a full roster in terms of like nowhere near a complete roster.
Why? 3 years to build a complete roster, man?
Because we're still building. That's why.
God, man. If you don't have depth in your system by year 3, what are you doing? If you lose a guy and it completely destroys your team to the point where you're a number 1 overall pick candidate, how thin are you? That's a referendum on the GM, man.
Yeah, look at the roster. We're thin. Troy Weaver's MO the first few years has been flexibility. That's been his MO. While he gets draft picks.
What has that gotten you?
Yeah, so his whole thing, at least the way I see it, is his whole thing was let's maintain flexibility as we get our young ass in here and figure out how we want to build this thing, and then pull the trigger.
Maintaining flexibility is great.
Bring in some big contracts.
Maintaining flexibility is great when you use it. You've not used it for 2 years.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think Troy Weaver, for lack of a better term, is going to blow his load this offseason.
He better. Like, if you were like, we are now 3 years into this thing. We've been through this a few years, and we are still this thin, this young, no leadership, no shooting, no defense. What are we doing?
Alec Burks has proved to be a good asset that they brought in,
and he's going to be gone in 3 weeks.
Okay, I'm not saying he's part of this team's future. I'm just saying,
why are we still at a point where we're bringing in guys to trade them 3 months later? We shouldn't be there anymore.
There are people on Pistons Reddit talking about, we should trade Bojan by the deadline. I'm like, I don't think I'm on that boat, to be honest with you.
I'm not. Like, I'd rather keep Bojan than Burks.
I think as Pistons fans, we have to stop scratching that itch of any time we sign someone that returns value, let's flip them. I agree. Like,
we shouldn't be at that point anymore. We're not venture capitalists. Right. We shouldn't be at that point anymore. We should be at a point where we are bringing in guys to contribute long term. And the fact that we're still at a point where we are talking about trading these assets is the problem for me, and why I'm beginning to lower the grade for Troy Weaver.
I don't agree with the trading. Like, it's not coming from the Pistons camp, obviously. Like, I'm telling, I don't agree with the Pistons fans saying that.
We are at a point in this build where that is still even in the discussion.
Yeah, I'm at the point in this build where I don't care as much about future draft picks. Obviously, this year's is going to be pretty valuable because 1, who's there, and 2, how bad you are. But in terms of future draft picks, I do not care. Can you sit
here and tell me that this team is now 1 year away from being ready? Because I can't.
Being ready? No.
Well, that's a problem in my mind.
Like, define ready. Like, I think depending on what we do.
Winning basketball. We said at the beginning of the season.
I think depending on what we do this offseason, you can be a playoff team.
This year was the step forward, and next year was the time to go. Are you telling me right here, right now, next year is still the time to go by the way this team looks? I will sit here and tell you I think that is, if you tell me yes, that's a lie. Because this team does not look like they are 1 year from being ready to go.
We have no idea what they're going to do this offseason.
If I can,
my whole thing was
another Troy Weaver offseason. We're going to bring in another Bojan Bogdanovic, another Nerlens Noel for the 17th time, and we're going to continue on and be a 30-win team. Like
we agreed, the assets we have, like what we have on the roster right now, we're not a playoff team quite yet. But once you enter our offseason, that's a playoff team. We expect to be able to be a playoff team with one more offseason. That's what we were saying. I still agree with that.
The fact that you have to bring in that much to make yourself a playoff team is why I have issues with this the way this team is constructed right now.
Well, it doesn't happen magically. Like, you got to bring in players.
Celtics didn't have to. They just built. Sixers didn't have to. They just built.
That's what we're kind of doing. Sixers sucked for a while as they were building.
And I thought that they actually
remember how long trust the process lasted?
I thought they did a poor job rebuilding. And also, I think it was delayed 3 years because of the guys they brought in sat out a whole year.
Yeah, every single player.
Right.
He kept drafting every injured player in the draft.
Again, I think that is my issue with what's going on. We're not sitting guys out a year, and we're still on the same damn trajectory as teams that sat out players for years. Like, that's a problem. I'm not willing to wait 5-6 years for this team to be competing for conference championships or top seeds. I'm not willing to wait 4 or 5 years for this team to be a playoff team. I'm ready to win now, and this team is not. And they've had enough time to build, as evidenced by the several teams I gave you earlier this year that did it in 3. And all I'm asking them to do is do it in 4. If you can't do it in 4, then Weaver is not the guy.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in the offseason.
The fact they have to add that much.
I believe you have the foundation in place. You just need to add your veteran assets. I still believe that.
What is your foundation?
I believe you have your backcourt. Now, we can't say for certain, but I'm willing to roll with this backcourt, for 1. 2, I believe you have a really solid, what looks like a really solid stretch for an Isaiah Stewart. Will he start down the road once you're a playoff team? Who knows? But you have a guy that's going to contribute minutes on this team.
Yeah, a lot of ifs and hopes here.
Sadiq Bey looked like a solid piece coming into the season.
Doesn't look like no more.
We'll see if he turns it around. But then, obviously, I'm expecting to make a splash, whether it's in free agency, whether it's in trade. You have so much cap space. You got to do something with it.
It's a lot of ifs and hopes, and not all your signs are pointing to those coming true.
Oh, you don't believe in Isaiah Stewart right now?
He's probably the one I do believe in.
You don't want to roll with the Cade Ivey backcourt? Those are the only 2 I said.
A little bit undecided on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it strange for me to sit here and say that I'm a little bit more? God, I feel like I'm gonna get like flamed for saying this because I love both of these guys and I think both will be hugely successful in the NBA. But right here, right now, I'm a little bit more confident in Jaden Ivey to fully fill in his role as a number 3 option on your team than Cade Cunningham is as a number 1. Is that crazy to say?
I mean, it's not crazy. You're talking about a guy who's played 60 games, and it's hard to be confident in that guy unless he is blowing you away,
which he hasn't.
Cade,
I think Cade is a really good player.
There's not much I can say bad about Cade. There's that, and he's a perfect guy to build around.
Right.
But at the same time, he's not someone on the court that you're going to watch and go, holy shit. Like, it's...
I think you're actually underselling him a little bit there. There are moments where Cade does have those games where he is, oh my God, he's blowing your mind. It's just not consistent enough.
Which
if you sat here and told me...
I believe that consistency comes as you have more games under your belt. That's why.
Let me put it this way.
That's why potentially losing him for a whole year really hurts.
It does. It absolutely does. 100%. However, I'm not willing to add another year to the timeline because of it. I'm not.
I never said add another year to
not.
the timeline. I just said I don't expect him to hit our expectations this year. That's all I'm saying.
To win in the NBA, you need a guy that is one of the top 10 players in the league. Fact. Look at the teams that have won championships. They all have a top 10
That's
player.
how I was scrolling through my head. And
It's a fact.
Yeah.
Lakers, Suns, Booker, Celtics, Tatum.
It wasn't a fact 20 years ago, but now
right.
it is. Yeah.
Now it is, yes. Is Cade Cunningham on a trajectory to be that guy?
Frankly,
from what I've seen, no. Top 20 guy, not a top 10. Really good player. I love him a lot. I want him to be a top 10. I haven't quite seen that guy yet. If that's the case, you don't have your guy. You have a guy you would build around 20 years ago. But in today's NBA, you need a top 10 guy. That's a fact of the game. That's a fact. That's just, even with a top 10 guy, you're not even guaranteed. But if you don't have one, you're guaranteed to not get there. So, frankly, Pistons fans are hoping to get that top 10 guy this year. That's why we're chanting, we want Wemby.
And I'm trying not to be on that boat. That's the whole thing. I said coming into the season, I know how good Wemby is. And I love him as a player. I do not want to lose games to get Wemby. I think your roster right now is at a point where it's kind of inevitable you're losing games.
The roster being this bad 3 years into it's a problem. Yeah. Because this is where guys were supposed to start being good. This is where Killian Hayes was supposed to start hitting his stride. This is where Sadiq Bey was supposed to start hitting his stride. Isaiah Stewart was supposed to and is starting to hit his stride. Cade Cunningham takes that big step forward to be a borderline all-star. These were the moments that we were supposed to see this year with improvement of this basketball team, and we have seen one. And I'm not going to use injury as an excuse because health is a skill and availability is the best skill. And Cade has not proven that availability. 64 games is not enough. You need more. As a number one guy, I need him playing more than 70. That's the problem I have.
Let's hope that turns around once he's back on the court.
So I will end the show with this. I asked the question at the beginning, and I mentioned how both teams were at a crossroads in their seasons. The Lions, we said we want them to win. Pistons, what do you want?
I want them to win.
You're willing to give up on Victor Wembanyama?
I'm still on the same boat that I was coming into the season. I know we lost Cade, but I do think you have such young guys in this team that you can really severely impact their morale using night in and night out like you were last season, for example.
I agree with you. And I'm also in the boat where I don't want to see us in a position where we are hoping for Victor Wembanyama come the draft lottery.
Because I don't believe we'll get him. Even if we finish with the worst record, I don't believe we'll get him. So
I mean, I don't either, but I don't even want to be in the spot. If you told me I had an 80% chance that I get the number 1 overall pick, I don't want to be in that position. Yeah. Because that'll tell me that a bulk of what this team is built on is fraudulent and not successful.
Yeah. No, I've said for both of these teams I'm done tanking, and I'm not going back on that. All I'm saying is I just don't think they're going to meet our expectations.
The reason I still want this team to win 30 games. I know it's a stupid chance that even happens, but I still want this team to win 30 games. Why? Because that'll tell me that the talent that Troy Weaver has brought in, the young guys that Troy Weaver has brought in, are guys that we can believe in and build with on this roster. If this team can't hit 25 wins or 30 wins, I will severely doubt that. And that's the problem that I have. So yes, I want this team to win 30 games. I want this team to turn their season around and win basketball games. I don't want Victor Wembanyama for that reason.
Right there with you.
And that's going to call for this week. Thank you guys for listening.
We didn't depress you guys enough today.
Thank you guys for listening. Andrew, thank you for joining me. Thank you to Detroit Sports Podcast. As always, follow us on Twitter at RealFanReport. We will catch you guys next week. Hope you guys enjoyed. This has been the Fan Reporters by fans.
For fans.
Enjoy your week and weekend, guys. Let's go Lions. Let's go Pistons. Let's go Wings. We'll catch you guys next week. Have a good one. Peace out.
Peace.